Can I borrow a pen?
Oh, of course you can.
Thanks.
All right, good morning, everyone. City manager is not here as he's heading off to a main town and city managers conference meeting sort of thing. So we'll get Ray started, and Superintendent of Schools Amy Bowles is here to wow us.
Whoa, wow, you. I don't know about that. Good morning, everyone. Just want to, last time I was here, talked a little bit about wanting to do an update from a lot of the work that we did in the last budget and would like to do continuing moving forward with our facilities. Because there's been a lot of questions about facilities work that's been done. David Stevens, my Director of Facilities and Transportation, is also here in case there's specific facilities questions I can't answer. But wanted to provide an update to the council on last year's budget and plans moving forward in the FY26 budget to give people kind of an overlay of what's been going on. So if you recall, we've talked a lot over really the last 2 years about needing to do significant facility upgrades at Ellsworth High School in particular, but also issues with the boiler and heating plant and cooling systems at EEMS. And then, of course, there's the whole Hancock County Technical Center as well. And so last year, learned of an opportunity from other superintendents across the state of how can school departments realize and fix a lot of degrading buildings when the Department of Ed in the state is not always funneling money into facilities projects at a fast enough rate. And so a solution that a lot of school systems were doing is TELPS and rolling projects into phases of TELPS over the course of several years in a row to try to maximize facilities projects' timeliness, but not having an extreme burden to taxpayers all at once, a big hit.
Amy, can you remind us what TELP stands for?
Tax exempt lease purchase. So this is a presentation of phase one, which was part of this current year's budget that we also want to roll forward into this next year's budget. And this is really small, but I'm going to zoom in so you can see. So we did a lot of work on coming up with a facilities plan and what are our high priority projects. And the high priority projects were double this list, but really worked last year and prior to really zeroing in on what are the highest priorities and what makes the most sense financially for us to get this started. And so last year, City Council approved what was called phase one of a TELP. And what happened is all of these project costs were in our FY25 budget at a cost of over $2 million. And we pulled those out of the FY25 budget and did a TELP instead. And the TELP is a year of no payments, and then you begin your payments the following year. What was great about this is there's so many efficiency incentives right now. So part of the strategic planning that we did, as you know from last year's presentation, was we rolled the LEDs, lighting, and the heat pumps. The savings that we're going to capitalize on from that provided some additional rebates to help offset the cost. The other major thing this does is EMC, after going through the bidding process and selecting them, they manage all of the projects. So that is their responsibility. And so all of these projects occurred last summer. And as you know, if we had tried to manage that and do that and get our schools clean and operational for the fall, we never would have realized these that quickly. So over the course of last summer, and some of the LED lights were installed this fall, all of these projects were completed. The only thing that's left is continued professional development on the LED lights. So the speed in which we were able to capitalize on this was also really critical for us to get an entire new boiler plant system at the high school to get heat pumps installed and running, and then all the LED lights have made massive changes to our schools. So to show you, we wanted to show you some of the work so that you could see some of the things that happened. So the geothermal pump system at the middle school and the elementary school. Those of you that did the tour of the plant a little over a year ago know we have a lot of geothermal. Everybody thought geothermal was the best thing ever. Now school departments across the state are taking out geothermal systems and replacing them with traditional heat pumps. Just the change alone in the LED lights has been massive in two ways. One, cost savings because they go off, but also the brightness and the different type of learning environment it's provided and work environment for our staff has been huge. The LEDs have been installed across the system, including Avery Lane. So now all of our buildings have LED lights in them. We were able to get the 6th grade wing roof project done. We did the second to last phase of windows at Ellsworth High School. So you can see these are the old windows, the green. Those are the heavy ones that kept slamming and hurt people because they didn't work. And now these are the new windows through here. So we have one phase of that left to do at the high school. New roof. The 4th of 5 sections of the roof project at Ellsworth High School because that needed a whole new roof. More pictures of the LED lights at Ellsworth High School so you can see the brightness of the entryway in the library, massive changes. And then the boiler plant at the high school has been completely refigured. There's the oil tank removal to go to propane. Heat pump at HCTC. And then the great thing that has come about because of this is the partnership with EMC. So they've done a lot of things in turn to give back to our community. That's one of the founding principles of their company, is to give back to the community in which they work. So this past summer, we launched our first STEM Academy summer program, and they spent time, their engineers came during that week and provided learning opportunities for the kids. You can see they have little hard hats that say EMC and Ellsworth School Department on them. They brought them to Avery Lane to show them how to install the LED lights and what the light installation meant for cost and energy efficiency. They did race cars. They talked about LED conversions, solar energy. They brought a lot of other things to the table than just the management of the work that they did. You could see the little projects they did. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that we would like to do moving forward is continue the partnership with them. There is another set of work that we would like to do in the next FY26 budget, which you will see is what's called the Phase 2 TELP. Couple of different ways we can do that we'll talk about with the city on Tuesday is there is another round of work that needs to get done. That includes the track lights, like we talked about last time, the last project or the last installation of the last section of the roof at Ellsworth High School, last section of the windows, more heat pump replacements at EEMS. So what we've done again is removed another round of facilities projects from the FY26 budget and been working with EMC to phase in a phase 2 to realize more projects and try to get more work done because we are so far behind. So like we talked about last time, this Phase 2 will not incorporate the track itself, but this project in Phase 2 would have the school department taking care of the lights at the track. We have the $100,000 earmarked in reserve accounts, so we've worked with EMC to try to get some estimations on how that would work. And then work on getting your approval to do a phase 2 project. Either, and one of the things we're working on is, can we refinance phase 1 and get a different interest rate, because interest rates are a little better right now, and phase these projects in, or do we do a second TELP? And so we're still working on that. But the FY26 budget that you will see Tuesday does not have all of these items in the budget. They've been removed. We think this is a more cost-effective and time-efficient way. It's gone really, really well for us. And what you will see in the FY26 budget is the first payment of phase 1 TELP budgeted in for the year. And so wanted to show you the results of us doing that. It's the first time we've done a TELP, obviously since I've been here, but that we can remember in a long time. Carolyn doesn't remember doing a TELP for facilities work of this type of magnitude since she's been here. And just the changes it's made in our facilities in such a short amount of time, we really would like to capitalize on it. And after doing phase 2, we feel like we'll be able to breathe a little bit, and really start to get on a more stable plan of facilities upgrades. We'll also know this summer where we land on the construction list with the state for HCTC. So a lot of things are going to be coming together. Last year, you also approved the school revolving renovation fund that we were awarded for over $1 million at HCTC. That's the 0% finance loan that the state gives when you get selected for a project. And we did receive that, and those things will be done this summer as well. That's a complete rebuild of the elevator system, and work on some of the controls monitoring at HCTC. So we're really proud of the work that we were able to accomplish in such a short amount of time, and what we think was a good win-win in terms of being able to pull all that money out of the budget and not have it be such an exorbitant hit to taxpayers. Questions? A lot.
Can you write what's the payback period on the TELP?
So yes, let me bring that up. I can show you exactly. No, of course it's sideways. So this has us paying on the TELP, it looks like through 2039 at about $198,000 a year. So the roof alone was about $160,000 to do. And so we have that built into our budget for this coming year. I literally have to do this. Yes, 2039. $197,968.
So it's a 15-year agreement.
4.9%.
Yeah. And do you know the expected life of the roof and those projects?
Not, David, do you know the roof?
For the.
Hey, David,
for the membrane.
if you're going to speak, could you come to the microphone, please?
Oh, yeah. This is his first rodeo here.
All right.
For the flat roof that was replaced for a rubber membrane roof, the typical life expectancy is anywhere from 30 to 40 years.
Great.
Boilers, those propane boilers are probably 30 to 35 years as well.
Yeah.
What about the heat pumps?
Heat pumps, it can go anywhere from 8 to 15 years.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
You always have to ask the question, Steve. I thought I'd do you a
I was reading
favor.
your mind.
So
Steve's trained me well.
I'm always interested to make sure that the asset and the liability are timed at the same, or less. I'm always interested in that, and Patrick answered that for us. So in average, we're hearing 30 years on the roof, so you blend all of that together. Is that the original roof?
At EH.
Because the building's, what, 30 years old, right?
Yeah, at EHS, I believe, yes.
That's where the roof work is done?
A section of EHS, and then the sixth grade wing was not part of the construction of the new school, I believe.
So the original roofs were, it's called like a ballast roof. So that's where they have, it's a rubber membrane and they have all the rocks and everything on them. Those were popular at a time, but they've come to find that their life expectancy was significantly shorter when that technology came out. So I think that's why you're seeing a lot of them being replaced. Because the stuff grows in them and it breaks down and it, you know, they leak, and that's why you're seeing, that's why you're seeing, you know, more traditional, like these EPDM roofs where they're a fastener roof. And they, I mean, you can, the thing that you get the longevity out of them is they're easily patched and repaired. So, you know, and they don't break down like a ballast roof does.
Weren't those ballast roofs popular because they were supposed to remove, so you could use it for stormwater and things, and so it kind of replaced, they called them live roofs, so they could replace some of the requirements for having too much pavement in the area, and they were like kind of green.
The
like
green
leads.
roof.
Green
More-
roof that
more
leads-
green?
Yeah,
That was-
to make your building leads.
That was the philosophy behind them, but I think, in my experience, they've found over the years that
Yeah.
the technology did not hold up like they had thought it would.
So that's just how I remembered it, was just to be leads. We were trying to be one of the levels of
Yes.
LEED certified.
Didn't we get
Yes.
silver leads on EEMS?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought it
Yeah.
was, so we had to put that roof on.
There's no runoff if it goes into the building.
Well, there is, into the building.
Into the building, yeah. But it doesn't hurt
Run
the
in.
environment, it just
I know,
hurts the
right?
school.
I just like, I'm sorry. Were you
Oh,
finished?
yeah, no.
Okay, okay.
Kidding around.
I'd just like to point out that 4.9% interest may sound pretty strong, and over the 15-year period, however, the cost of construction will probably far exceed that over that time. So
Yeah.
if you were gonna do that project 3 years from now, you're probably gonna put a pretty big dent in that interest cost over the 15 years.
Yeah.
So
Well, and some of the things were causing substantial issues. I mean, our high school has leaks, you know, in the areas that hadn't been redone. And TELP 2 would finalize the roof replacement at the high school. Yeah, the heating and cooling has been an issue, massive issue in both schools. So, and this, the energy efficiency that we're gonna find and the rebates we were able to capitalize on right now while they're available helped also.
I have a question to understand. You said that 2.5 million was pulled out of the budget for fiscal year 2025. Before or after the budget was approved?
Before.
Okay. thank
So
you.
when everything was submitted to me for budget requests,
Right.
my facilities director gives me, these are the top priorities, and they're built into the budget. And then you often see, boom. And then what had been happening in prior years is some of those big ticket items would stay in, but most would go, and then nothing was getting fixed. Because it's easier to cut a $150,000 roof than a person and a job. And so in prior years, what was happening is those facilities projects were never getting done, because to get our budgets down, we would cut all those big ticket items. And then, so here we are.
That's the trend we've seen in city government too, is the deferred
Absolutely.
maintenance that we're getting caught up on. and-
Yes.
And catching flack for, but.
Yes.
It has to be done.
It has to be done. Yeah. And so in phase 2, I'm just looking at, phase 2 looks at the last phase of the roof. It looks at the one area of the high school that LED lighting was not done on, because it's a more special system, is the auditorium and staging area. So we would do that. A complete redo of our controls integration system for the whole district, so that we can get our own proprietary control over our heating and cooling system, which we have not had. Last phase of the windows at Ellsworth High School, And then heat pump, another heat pump replacement at the elementary, middle school, and then renovation of bathrooms at the high school that need to be done. And so those are some of the things, and then the track lighting. Those are the things we're looking at doing in phase 2.
Do you have a cost for that, Amy?
I do. So the approximate cost is about 1.1. And then associated rebates is about $96,000 for the cooling system at the high school for the cafeteria. And then in energy savings, they estimate about $15,800 in
that
energy
annually?
savings for year 1.
Annual energy savings.
Yes. Yep.
You said you thought you could get a better interest rate with this one?
That's what they're working on right now. They're hoping they can get that down a little bit. And so that's what they're working on right now.
And you potentially would refi TELP 1 with that.
If we can get a better interest rate, that's our hope, is that we can refinance that one as well and possibly either put them together. But what our hope is that if we do that, we liked having a year of no payment. And so what we're hoping for is that we can refinance, but for the phase 2 projects, have a year of no payment, but begin our TELP 1. I don't know if they're gonna be able to make that happen or not, but that's what they're working on. They're working on 3 different options for us to work on and look at.
I'm fascinated, how does EMS make their money?
So they get a certain percentage, I wanna say it might be 10, over the course of time. Built into this is a 5 to 10% fee for them managing everything. They do all the bids, they work with us to open the bids, school board selects who does it. They do all the renderings and drawings of every single project, make sure the specifications, and then they were here all summer walking with our guys, making sure stuff's getting done and timelines are met for the opening of school.
And then when it's done, their management is done.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes, you're welcome.
Anybody else?
Any other questions? Okay,
Thank you, Amy.
see you Tuesday.
Thanks. Very helpful.
Oh, jeez.
You are such a dad.
I'll take it.
I don't know, you got the dad sweater, the dad jokes, there's something going on here.
I've just, my whole life, and then I finally became a dad, and then it's like, oh, this
You're
makes
just
sense
embracing
now.
it, yeah.
Yeah. This is where I'm supposed to be.
My brain would never go there.
All right, we have Nate, Finance Director.
Yes, so just to give you guys a brief little update here, I know last week, for those who saw or were in attendance, we talked about the audit, which the auditors were here just a week ago. So we actually made some significant progress, I feel like, because the issue that the auditors were saying was they were having some issues with the migration from Munis to Cassell. So IT Nate and myself took it upon ourselves to look at Munis and see what was brought over, and we found where the issue was. And I'll kind of make it as brief as possible, but basically any of the balance sheet accounts, your assets, your liabilities, your 1, 2, and 3 accounts, all those should have SOY balance, so start of year balance. But in FY24, those balances were not put in Munis at all. So that is the issue of why the numbers that RHR says we should have are not meshing with Cassell. So we actually had, Nate met with, or phoned with Chase from Cassell yesterday, and we're gonna get that data to him ASAP with what those balances should be, so we can re-migrate that basically into our system. And that'll definitely help the auditors moving forward, because like I said, that's what the issue is. That's why the GL balances, nothing's meshing, nothing's what it should be. So we found out what it was, and like I said, hopefully that'll get fixed ASAP, because like I said, our goal is to get this audit done quickly. The team is working. I've received emails from them during the week, so I know they are actively working, but the issue we had was the balances, which will now get rectified, and we'll see what happens and how quickly that can be coming to pass. So that's the audit update from me. Reconciliations, all two of our accounts are reconciled all the way through February, and then the other two accounts are reconciled through where I'm working in January right now. So as far as the checking account reconciliations, we are working our way through and almost caught up to date. And obviously, once that's caught up, then obviously you make a regular practice to do that at the end, obviously, of the month. So you start that first thing and hopefully have it done by the 15th is the goal of every month. So that's the update from my side. Any questions, I'll take them. But
Crickets? Okay.
Crickets.
All right. So the Heart of Ellsworth is not going to be here today, but they're going to come next week. So if you can add that to the agenda. But Nancy would like to speak about urban sprawl. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I just, I had brought up the cost of sprawl at one of our budget meetings and then realized this is what I do for a living and a lot of people may not be aware of it, but it's and the reason I'm bringing it up is I talked to Charlie about my day job at Grow Smart Maine. We create community guides. We've got over 20 of them. One of them is the cost of sprawl, and it talks about as you build further and further from your core, whether it's a village, a downtown, or an urban center, the costs go up. It's more school buses, it's another ambulance. It's the fire department talking about needing another firehouse on 1A because growth is happening out there. So what I want to do is just share with you the community guide that we've got that talks about the value of trying to focus growth where it makes sense, where we've already got services, where we've already got sewer and water, rather than, as an example, even with roads, Smart Growth America promotes just a philosophy called fix it first. Before you build something new, make sure you can maintain what you've already got. And so how do we make best use of the infrastructure we've already spent and invested in before we're creating more that we then have to add to our maintenance budgets and add plow trucks and all that. So I can send a link to the cost of sprawling growth to you all, to the full council, but just wanted, it's a resource that anybody can have. And I don't know if we make it available as we're talking about the budget and trying to, when you hear me talk about, we need to, what are we doing so that it's easier to build in town? That's why. Is it's easier for people. When households don't have to have a car for every person who works, that, I think the last I knew, the calculation was owning a car is $600 a month. When you talk about the payment, the insurance, the gas, the maintenance. So if we make it easy to live where you don't need one car per driver or per worker, it's the household costs that go down, but it's also municipal, state, and all of that. So it's not saying you can never build in the rural areas, but let's make it easier to do where it makes sense in the long term. So I'll email you all the link, and then, again, look at how I will be referencing it because it's the smart thing to do. It's good for the municipal budget to not add more responsibility as we're trying to figure out how to get caught up, as we've heard again today, on maintaining what we got. So I will send that out and invite you all to take a look at it, and I'm happy to answer any questions later.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. So open discussion by council. Any comments they want to make? Okay, then we shall open it up to the public. Or do you have something? You're just here to listen?
Yeah, I'm just
All right.
because
Here
we're
for the
fascinating.
donuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Does anyone have any questions, comments? Okay.
Jared Wilbur, resident. I was just looking for some clarification, not last night's finance meeting, but one before, we talked about COLAs versus merit pay increases. And I was wondering if that was just for non-union employees for the city, or if that was for the union employees as well.
It's the non-union employees.
Okay.
The unions have a,
Well, that's what I was, and I was like, so are we gonna be going away from our contracts? I just wanted a little clarification on that. And then also, when you do the COLA, is that based off a CPI increase, or is that just a general flat across the board?
I wasn't here for that meeting, did he say?
And nothing has been determined.
Oh,
yet
I know, I was
either,
just looking for a
so-
little more clarification on that.
It's just a general across
So
the
it
board, I
doesn't-
believe. I'm pretty sure like last year, I think it was at 3%, and then this year, I think it was recommended at a 2.5% COLA.
That's what we're doing.
So it's just across the board, this is what Charlie's recommending. And then that's why he's also introduced the merit. So we're not just based off of the COLA. So the employees that are doing like extraordinary across the board, there's possibly that merit raise as well.
Well, it's just, if, you know, a lot of businesses use CPIs and stuff, I didn't know if that was something that the city should base their, if they stay with the COLA, off of, versus just saying like a 2.5 or 3%, because there's actually be numbers that kick back what you're giving for raises across the board.
And I think that's what the COLA is based on.
Is it a-
Consumer
is it the
Index is my, if you're
CPI?
2.5%.
Yeah,
It's
Well,
not pulled out- it's
CPIs
not
change
pulled out
every
the
year,
air.
and that's why I was, well, actually, they
So
changed
all
on that,
Which
but,
index we can find out.
Yeah, we can,
Yeah.
we can definitely touch base with Charlie and see how he came
Yeah.
okay,
up with that number.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
could speak to
Thank
that
you.
a little bit, and I'm gonna give you just a thought pattern from my little bit of knowledge, little tiny bit. I think there are many factors that go into the decision of the COLA, Consumer Price Index, I'm assuming is being looked at, and probably some other indicators before they come up with that. But I don't think it's tied to one thing. I think it's tied to the decision that is made within the city manager's idea. But I'm sure, I would assume that there are many indicators that are researched. And I don't want to speak for them or anybody else, but I don't think there is definitely a strong tie to any one indicator. Is that fair to say?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
I don't
that's
think we
CPI.
can afford the CPI index either. I think it's affordability of how much we can get for a COLA. CPI, especially the last few years,
It's going up.
yeah.
Yeah. No, but I was curious, you know, wanted a little clarification on that, that was all. Awesome,
you.
well, thank you
Alright,
guys.
Great,
Thank
thank you
you.
for coming.
Yeah.
Now, does your guest have a comment or anything he'd like to say?
Would you like to say anything, Waylon, or are you good?
Donuts.
He's good.
Oh, what a cutie.
Roger Gilly, resident of Ellsworth. Nancy kind of touched base on this just a minute ago. You know, I'm here about, you know, what the city's spending for money. Her comment just a few minutes ago was, you know, why are we doing something if we can't? You know, before we do something else, let's make sure we can take care of what we have. So my comment is about the Fairground Road. We're gonna spend money to tear a place down that is, I mean, our code enforcement officer and our city manager said it's unrepairable. It's not unrepairable. I've been in there. I did some work there because actually the city let them down, those people down for 2 years, when they asked for help. So I went in and fixed the problem that they had, and find out it was a city problem. So my thing is we've taken buildings in the city of Ellsworth and pulled them out of the ground 8 feet, you know, because the walls had sunk, rebuilt it, put it back together, good. My thing is, as a resident, I would rather see, if the city's gonna spend money, let's put these people back in their home. They're a mother, a father, a son, they don't leave their house, you know, they need help. We help everybody else in the city of Ellsworth that has a problem, or we put them in motels, or, you know, we've given them, you know, during COVID, we give people, you know, a year to live in a place. I understand that they're not getting back to the city, but, you know, the question is, you know, when I was in there, they probably really needed an advocate. Because to go 2 years with a little bit of water, you know, when they flush their toilet, you know, it would take half the day to fill the toilet back up to be able to flush it again. And any questions after, we can go over that. But I really think that, you know, that there's many ways that, you know, the city needs to start saving money. A year or so ago, we bought a city truck. All of our trucks are equipped with Fisher plows. So we had a truck, somebody come in and said, look, I want to buy a truck, but I want a Boss plow. So now we've eliminated this one truck to this one plow. So if that truck breaks, the truck can't go hook on another plow that the city owns. If the plow breaks, the truck can't, you know, vice versa, they can't utilize that truck or that plow if something shall happen. You know, so there's just many ways I really think that, you know, we should stand up and help people and not tear them down and leave them homeless. There was a comment, you know, the council meeting, Steve asked if the taxes paid. Code enforcement said yes, but the mortgage company's paying. Well, if those people aren't paying their mortgage, the mortgage company's not gonna pay the taxes. So they're still trying. Is the place a mess? Yeah. Does it need to be cleaned up? Yeah. There was 2 overdoses on that road the other night, 2 different times. I think there's more to worry about on that road than a house that needs repair. You know, the comment, well, there's rats, there's this, there's that. You can see rats at Shaw's. You can see rats anywhere through town. It's not anything new. You know, and I'd rather see people stand up and help these people than tear them down. Then we talk about wasteful spending. The high school, they just said they put a new roof on. All for it. It needs a roof. The problem is the type of roof that they put on is the same type of roof that blew off at the high school. What you find in Massachusetts, what you find in southern Maine, they do what they call a torch-applied rubber roof. It's 3 different layers of rubber, and when it's all, and you can lay it on wood, you don't have to attach it to styrofoam. So basically, like if they were gonna put it on the high school, they would re-plywood the roof right over what's there. They would put this rubber down in layers, glue it. The very last layer, you take a big torch and you melt the whole thing together. With the UV rays that we have now, it seems to be holding up way better. You know, and all these warmer places, Florida does it. They have it down there. It holds up. The problem with the roofing that they put on now, it's very thin roofing. It's just glued. Over a period of time, the glue does let go because of the heat that we have, you know, experienced in the summertime now. It doesn't hold up. Avery Lane, the daycare on Avery Lane, they've replaced their roof already. I mean, they've done it multiple times. They're going to do it again at the daycare. It just doesn't hold up. The reason why the people are taking the rocks off the roof is because actually the rocks are getting so hot that they're melting into the rubber and creating leaks. So that's become a big downfall on that side. So therefore, that's, you know, one of the big reasons why they started taking the rocks off the roof. So I think a little more research into something before we go spending a bunch of money on something that, you know, just because some company says, well, this is what we need to do, or because, you know, they're a multi-billion-dollar company or whatever they are out of Bangor or wherever. I think a little more research would help, you know, taxpayers in the city of Ellsworth to make something last, because the roof on the high school is not going to last 40 years. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. No? All right, thank you, Roger.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
I just wanted to clarify one thing that he said. We get payments, tax payments, all the time from banks because they want to make sure that the taxes are paid, that the property isn't going to foreclose. Then they go after the people for reimbursement. So even if they're not paying their mortgage, and I don't know who is and who isn't, I only know about the conversations I have with the individual banks when they call me to find out the status of things. And I can tell that prior, the owners had made the payments, but now the bank is calling and they'll say, I'm going to send a check just to make sure. And that happens a lot.
Yeah, it does happen all the time.
Yes, so
And
I just-
sometimes it's built into their mortgage and it changes.
A
every
lot of
single
them
year.
are, yeah, but I just wanted to clarify when the gentleman said that the bank isn't gonna pay if you're not paying your mortgage. That isn't true. The bank will pay unless they just don't want the property either. Then I have had a couple of instances when they have backed out and said, we're done.
Yeah.
But most of the time, they will make that payment. So I just wanted to
Alright,
clarify that.
thanks, Sue. Yeah, what-
Which makes sense, is the collateral on their loan.
Yeah, I'd like to add and ask if I could.
Okay.
I caught what Mr. Gilly said, and I understand that the bank is gonna pay even if the mortgage isn't paid. I
Right,
understand
yes,
that.
yeah.
However, I think the important part of that is that I don't care how the taxes are paid, they're paid.
Right.
We don't know if somebody robbed a bank to pay them.
Exactly.
Or if they paid them from selling bottles or making work or what have you. The
Right.
important part for us is that the taxes, us being the city.
Right.
The taxes are paid. How they got paid and who paid them, it sets aside
Exactly,
from us.
right.
And my question to you is this. And I'm sure you know that a tax lien comes ahead. The reason the bank pays that, and correct me if I'm wrong, and this is a question, not a statement. The reason the bank comes forward and pays those taxes is because that tax lien comes ahead of their mortgage in the collection process if it was to be liquidated. Am I correct?
Yes,
Okay, I thought
absolutely,
so.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, there's a foreclosure by the city, and the city comes ahead of the bank.
The bank, that's
Right,
right,
that's what
yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, and I didn't want to talk about any individual
I get it.
account. I took what he said as, like, maybe the code enforcement officer wasn't telling the truth, and that's not the case. They do get paid, so, by the bank.
I think we
so.
recognize.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Sue,
Thank you,
appreciate
Sue.
it. Yeah, no, it's good. All right, does anyone have anything else?
Waylon, are you sure you don't want to speak? In the microphone, you can hold the microphone and
You
say
can
hi?
sing.
Come on, get up there and say hi. No?
All right, thanks,
Okay.
everyone, appreciate it. Yeah, me too.